This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is the one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my idol. You're going to acknowledge me.
Welcome to the current state of WWE. We've got Anthony DeMarco back this week to talk about what the hell is going on in WWE, the good, the bad, the ugly, and we're going to talk about this week the main event scenes on Raw and SmackDown and the potential for a draft, and if the draft happens, how they could shake things up to for the main event scene on both shows. But Anthony, welcome to the show.
Yeah, man, glad to be back. Obviously, we were talking a bit off air that I missed my own show last week because, as you know, moving is a pain in the ass, and I'm so happy I'm done. I'm back and still a bit, in between on getting everything set up completely, but at least I'm able to do these shows again.
I mean, it's inexcusable. I mean, I don't know. I don't understand. I mean, moving is simple. It's just, you just kind of move a few boxes and unpack. I don't understand why you missed the show. But so anyway, yeah, let's dive into it, though, because with the potential draft coming up, and I have not heard anything official. WWE has not made any kind of announcement. And Roman Reigns has gone away, at least as we have heard, past Extreme Rules, and probably not until maybe the Monday night, or rather the Friday night after Extreme Rules, to set up for Survivor Series, which I think will be Seth versus Roman Reigns, and it'll be a nice story given what happened last year that they never followed up on. But do you think the draft is going to happen? And if it does, how do you think that at least the big players will land on either show?
Well, to be honest, I was really expecting them to split the world titles again, right? I really thought that under Triple H they were going to do that. But now that they're not doing that, at least until Survivor Series or probably far after that, it's really kind of thrown me into a bit of a tailspin as to where I think the big players are going to go. I feel like they're going to keep Seth Rollins on Monday Night Raw. It feels like he's just kind of belongs there, the whole Monday Night Rollins thing. Obviously, he spent 1 year on SmackDown in 2021. They quickly sent him back to Monday Night Raw. Bobby Lashley feels like he's become a staple of Monday Night Raw with the United States Championship. I think one of the big players that I don't know where he's going to go is Austin Theory. Obviously, he's a guy scratching the surface on kind of becoming a bona fide main eventer, has the Money in the Bank briefcase. Him, I'm not sure exactly. Roman Reigns, although he could kind of float on both shows, I think he's going to stay more on SmackDown. He's been a SmackDown guy for 3 years now. Has really made that feel like his own show. It feels like Braun Strowman is going to go to SmackDown. He was there last year, or he was there this past week. And the one program, which I feel like is quickly becoming the main program in WWE, Karrion Kross and Drew McIntyre, that's the one program where I'm not sure where they're going to throw those two guys. Because if there is a draft sometime in the next month, you would have to assume that both those guys will land on the same brand. But I can't really put my finger on where those two guys would end up because it feels like those two are the most important guys in WWE right now.
I think as you look at Drew McIntyre and Karrion Kross, they feel like maybe they're destined for Monday Night Raw again. I mean, I think that'd be a nice shakeup, and with Roman Reigns being champion probably at least through the end of the year, maybe we'll have him be able to float on either show, even though he still feels like a SmackDown guy, which shouldn't be the case given what the purpose of unifying the championships were for. With Roman being able to do what he wants, and assumingly any of the unified tag team champions, whoever they may be, assuming they're the Usos, they can float wherever they want. But Drew, I think, will go back to Raw. Karrion Kross, depending on when they do this draft, if their program is going to continue, you'd imagine that they will be on the same show as Drew. I think is going to take a bit of a detour through Karrion Kross for a couple of pay-per-views. So yeah, Austin Theory, I think, is a floater. We have, I think Braun Strowman is absolutely destined for SmackDown. Brock Lesnar, I mean, who knows when he's coming back? He's kind of a free agent that floats anywhere. Cody Rhodes, I think, remains on Monday Night Raw. I think he's a nice kind of foundational piece for the show, even though you and I aren't the biggest fans of his babyface work. And the more and more I think about it, I'm becoming less and less a fan of his work, even though he hasn't been on TV in like 2 months. I've given a lot of thought, and I like dislike it more and more the more I think about it. Not to say Cody Rhodes is a bad performer, or I wouldn't hire him. I would hire him in a second. He's a very polished veteran performer, but I think he's destined to be a heel, and I think that's a really big reason why AEW fans started to boo him towards the end of his run. But Cody Rhodes, I think, stays on Raw. Roman Reigns floats. We have Drew McIntyre, I said, go to Raw. We have Braun Strowman come to SmackDown. And at some point, I think Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns will have a championship match. But I hope, against hope, that Braun Strowman isn't the one to take the belt off Roman Reigns. But I could see Braun Strowman being kind of like a stopgap between now and WrestleMania, which is maybe when he loses the championship. Do you see Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns in a championship match?
I think so. Look, I think Braun Strowman as a world champion doesn't really do it for me. Kind of like Kane, right? Like, how many world titles did Kane ever really win? Not counted the ECW championship. But what those big men can do, and Braun Strowman, those shape he's got himself into, I think he's a pretty good worker for his size. Like, he's a good utility guy that you could almost put him in any kind of program, and it's going to feel legitimate because of his sheer size. And I think him versus Roman Reigns, they've had that program several times in the past, notably in 2017. I think that's a very good interim program for Roman Reigns. Will be entertaining to see him probably clear out the bloodline that's now expanded by one. And I think another guy that could probably shift back to SmackDown because he started there was Matt Riddle, and maybe Randy Orton could go over there because if you're bringing Drew McIntyre and Karrion Kross over to SmackDown, and you're keeping Cody there, and you're keeping Seth Rollins there, you're going to need some upcoming star power to kind of inject into SmackDown. And obviously Braun Strowman going there could kind of fill that gap. But I think Matt Riddle, maybe you're returning Randy Orton, because I also think Randy Orton could be a nice stopgap promo for Roman Reigns along the way. So along with Braun Strowman, I could see Riddle and Orton going over to SmackDown to kind of fill the gap. What do you think?
Yeah, and first of all, let me say I'm glad that they found their first names again. Matt Riddle found his first name, and Austin Theory found his first name again. Kevin Owens, which I was going to talk about, made reference to that on Raw, which was really funny. But I think Kevin Owens is another kind of under-the-radar guy that I think will eventually reunite with Sami Zayn. I think Sami will turn babyface and turn on the bloodline. Jey Uso, or is it Jimmy? Jey doesn't like Sami anyway, doesn't trust him. And I think eventually Sami and Kevin will reunite as a babyface tag team to dethrone the Usos for the Unified Tag Team Championships. I think that's coming in the next few months. But that's not to say that Kevin Owens also, at some point, if they want to take a different road, can't dethrone Roman Reigns. I think he will be drafted to SmackDown. If there was a draft tomorrow, I would say Kevin Owens is going to SmackDown. Almost a guarantee that he would go to SmackDown. I think he would be a nice fill in for when Roman's not there, and he's entertaining as hell. It's like he's found himself again thanks to Triple H, and I think he can work with anybody, and he would be, to me, absolutely a guy, the contender to beat Roman Reigns. I don't think there's anybody that would really be angry if he was the one to take the belt off of Roman. So do you see Kevin Owens going to SmackDown if there was a draft?
I see it for several reasons. One, for all the reasons that you just mentioned, and the other is because I'm not sure if it's exactly every year, but close to it, that every time there is a draft in WWE since 2016, he will switch to the opposite brand. I'm pretty sure that every time there's a draft, he'll go from Raw to SmackDown, back to Raw, back to SmackDown. But aside from that kind of, I guess, track record that I've realized over the years, I do think that he has the relationship with Sami Zayn. They've hinted at it over the last several weeks. And I do think that he's a guy that people just naturally and inherently get behind. I think that Kevin Owens is kind of like an anti-hero type of character, like a toned-down version of Steve Austin. I think he is a babyface now. He's kind of gone back to more of a serious gimmick with Triple H in charge. And I really think that there's a lot to work with Kevin Owens. And to be honest, now that they've moved past Drew McIntyre and he's not presumably he's not a candidate to take the belt off of Roman Reigns, given him the fact that he just lost, even including Cody Rhodes, and my pick would be Kevin Owens out of the current roster at WWE.
Yeah, Kevin Owens, to me, that would be the one guy, if it's not going to be Cody Rhodes, and I have a fear that it is going to be Cody Rhodes for the one to beat Roman Reigns, and the one, if it's, for some reason, if The Rock can't face Roman at WrestleMania, that we have Cody Rhodes win the Rumble. He's already a heavy favorite. I mean, we're talking 3 months, 4 months away, and he's already a favorite to win the Rumble. And if he's the one to win and then face Roman Reigns, given his mission statement on night one in WWE of saying, hey, I'm going to win the belt that my dad couldn't, and all the stuff that I can't stand anymore when he talks about his dad. I just can't. I think it's a crutch. I think it's unnecessary. I think it's exploitive. But that aside, you could make a very strong case for Cody Rhodes being that guy, given that he's the underdog and everything else. But I also could see Seth winning at Survivor Series and then having Cody win the Rumble, and it's Seth-Cody Part 4 at WrestleMania. I mean, there's a long history there given what happened a few months ago. So could you see that, or do you think they would actually have Cody versus Roman and not bring Seth into the equation?
It's hard here because you know that they want to get to Rock versus Roman, and I would be on board with that. But like you, I don't want for the championship because that would just automatically mean that The Rock's losing. And I think The Rock would lose regardless because it would make no sense. But if you involve the championship, you're kind of hijacking the world title with another guaranteed victory like we saw this past WrestleMania, Brock versus Roman. And Cody versus Seth, don't get me wrong that they have awesome chemistry, but it's like we've seen that 3 times and Cody won every time. To me, that was really bad booking decision, Cody winning all 3 times, because it's just like, why are they fighting again? Why would you go back to the well? And presumably you would have Cody win again, win the big one, win the championship. For me, with Cody Rhodes, booking him so strong out of the gate with Seth Rollins, especially the match that he was injured, like for me, that was a perfect opportunity. Give Seth the win. He goes on the shelf for a bit, and that's his reason to go up against Seth, and you involve the championship even more so. You have it completely made. But him winning 3 times, it just feels weird, and then you would assume that he would go right back and win against Seth Rollins and win the championship. Like, do you feel like with Cody Rhodes, the fact that they booked him so strong out of the gate was almost a bad thing?
For people like you and I, for fans like you and I, yes. I think for the casual fan, somebody that kind of just tunes into only the main shows, doesn't follow along with podcasts or the news of wrestling, and has a really deep passion on a day-to-day basis for it, I think most fans don't necessarily care because Seth is so inherently unlikable, and that's a compliment to him. So I think most fans are like, great, the heel, that jerk Seth Rollins lost, and he lost 3 times. I don't think most fans care. But as you get into the pay-per-view crowds and the crowds that are quote-unquote more hardcore, that understand the product on a deeper level, I think you're probably going to see the reaction start to turn for Cody, on top of the fact, as you and I have mentioned in the past, that he just is not relatable at all. I mean, he comes out in suits. He acts like he's bigger than, or almost unintentionally acts like he's above people. I don't think he can help it. And then using unnecessarily big words to make it appear as if he's like well-read or something, when he doesn't need to speak and use big words. He can just speak directly to the fans. There's just so much about the babyface Cody Rhodes I don't like. But I think if you put this matchup on the card with Cody versus Roman Reigns, it's almost guaranteed, if it's at WrestleMania, that Cody will win. Now, again, you and I don't want The Rock for the championship, and that's why I'm really leaning towards Seth being the one to dethrone Roman at Survivor Series, and then you want to do Cody win the Rumble and then Cody Seth. Yes, it'll be the 4th time, but at that point it would be a while. Would it have been, I don't know how many months since they have had a match, like at that point 10 months or more. And then you also don't forget, Triple H is in charge now. Vince isn't. Vince is the one, when it was under his leadership, that allowed those 3 losses to Seth Rollins. Just because Cody goes to WrestleMania doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to win it, because Triple H is very high on Seth Rollins. I think he has a bit more of a fatherly or I don't know, stronger connection with Seth than I think he does with Cody. But I don't know. I would imagine that if Triple H is in charge, all bets are off. And if Vince were still there, yeah, I think Cody loses, or rather wins, and Seth takes a 4th loss. But I don't know. That's how I would do it, just because I don't want Rock Roman for the championship, and I want the belt off of Roman as soon as possible, even if it is going to another heel.
Yeah, with Seth, it's just, this whole situation, the main event in general, they need to find someone, or preferably like numerous people that at least feel credible enough to be on the same level with Roman Reigns. And I thought Drew was that guy. I think Seth is absolutely that guy, arguably even more so than Drew. Like, do you think that like they are under Triple H going to find a way to make someone feel credible enough to step to Roman Reigns? Because I've used this analogy a lot. Like, Austin was always the top guy in Attitude Era. But you also had The Rock, you had Triple H, you had Taker, who all felt just on the same level as Austin, but he was just always that little bit better. With Cena, you had like Triple H, you had Orton, you had Batista, you had Bobby Lashley in the early years. Like, do you think they eventually have to get to that same type of scenario with Roman Reigns?
They have to. I mean, that to me, if without having a dancing partner, I mean, you can't have Roman Reigns, the almighty Roman Reigns, with nobody he's able to work with, because everybody on the roster he's either already cycled through, or you look at it and go, well, they haven't faced each other, but they just don't seem like they're anywhere near ready to topple Roman Reigns. That's a problem, I think, that has plagued WWE, at least for the last 6 to 12 months, where you're looking at it and going, well, who the hell else is out there? I mean, you're going to bring up an NXT like Braun Breaker, that we talked about briefly in the last few months, and have him beat Roman out of nowhere, or what are they going to do? Because now we're already talking about cycling back through the same people he just beat, with potentially Kevin Owens out there, which I have no problem with. It's been 18 months since they've faced one another, but now that the fact is that if you're seeing them cycle back through the same people that he already beat, even if it was that long ago, that tells you that they haven't done a great job of building new stars to be able to face Roman, and they haven't decided on who the hell is going to be the one to beat Roman, or you would see this person already coming up. And I don't see that person. I mean, yes, Randy Orton, a legacy star, no pun intended, is out there, and he's slated to come back maybe in the next couple of months, and I don't know if he'll face Roman. The story would dictate it, though, because yes, he's tag team partners with Riddle, but if you remember why Randy Orton went out, it's because of a quote-unquote injury that the bloodline gave Orton, and so he could easily come back and just RKO or RKO Roman out of nowhere, and boom, you got your next pay-per-view main event. But also, people are talking about Riddle Orton at WrestleMania. I feel like we've talked about that last 2 years. That could still happen, but a legacy star like Orton doesn't need the victory. That's the thing, is like, he's credible, he's absolutely believable to beat Roman, but the big negative is he's 40 some years old. He doesn't need it. He's not going to be working the house shows. We need somebody who's going to be there consistently. I don't know if Orton would even want that responsibility at this point of his career. Like, all these things. So yeah, I don't know who could do it. Riddle maybe, but he already lost to Roman, and the stipulation was he can't face Roman as long as he's champion again. I don't know. There's nobody out there that he hasn't faced that we're all going, oh my God, I can't wait till that happens.
Not to say that he would be the one to come back and beat Roman Reigns, because he did lose to Roman Reigns already last year. But do you think there's any scenario in the future, especially given the fact how many championships he's won, where John Cena comes back for one final run and plays a prominent role in the main event?
I mean, John Cena, in his last promo on Raw a month or two ago, he said outright that, he'll be back. He doesn't know when, but it's not his last match. He's going to have more. I mean, that was essentially the message. Could I see them putting him in a position to be a main eventer even in the short term? Yeah, I could. John Cena he's a guy that is in the give back mode of his career. I think he might kind of do a Rock schedule, though, where even if he wins the championship, he's not there a lot. And that's not a good thing, though, because it'll bring shades back and nightmares back of Roman. Even if he's a babyface, people are like, well, where the hell's he? Do people just get this championship and go on vacation? I don't think it would be a good look. I don't know if I actually do think, though, that they will give John Cena the 17th championship. I do think it will happen. I don't know when. It could be next year. But I don't think it should be taking the belt off Roman to capture the 17th championship. I don't think that's a good thing to do, given that John Cena WWE's moved on, and we've moved on without John Cena. It's cool when he comes back, but it's not a smart business decision of a 2-year championship reign to go to John Cena. That would benefit zero from it, other than, okay, great, he broke Ric Flair's record.
Yeah, and I agree. I'm just always wondering where he plays a role moving forward. And look, it's not to beat a dead horse, but it felt like they had it. Perfect scenario with Clash at the Castle and Drew McIntyre. And now I'm wondering like how they see Drew moving forward, because it felt like the stars aligned for him to win in not his home country, but close to it, overseas in the United Kingdom, the crowd predominantly behind him, and give him that moment that he missed because of COVID 2.5 years ago at WrestleMania 36. And like, I don't know about you, but like, not only was I shocked that they decided to go that road, but now it makes me question how they view Drew McIntyre going forward.
It's a scary thought. I mean, they know what they have with Drew, and again, it's not that Vince McMahon was the root and origin of all evil. He's not. And he's made some boneheaded decisions, but I also think that had a lot to just being a geriatric old man and just time and his brain just simply breaking down and not being as sharp as it was and all that. I really think that's a lot of the complaints were based in that. So that said, though, that Triple H, being a younger mind, being an actual talent, going through the ranks, all that, and understanding WWE on so many levels as he's carried so many titles throughout his career, I think that you have Triple H who understands what they have with Drew, and that I'm sure there were discussions in the meetings prior to Clash at the Castle of discussing, okay, could we put the belt on Drew? And I'm sure there was discussions. I don't think it was an automatic. I really have my doubts. It's all speculative, but I have my doubts that WWE, and when Triple H is in these meetings, that it wasn't even brought up that, well, why don't we put the belt on Drew? I really much doubt. I bet you there were some strong arguments for it, but that's why you and I talked last week and we said, well, what the hell is the payoff then? I mean, if this isn't it, Drew McIntyre being vindicated 2.5 years later, the crowd is going insane for him. WWE fans, even in the U.S., completely would support this, I think, on a large scale. He's young enough to be believable to help even push his career further, because I still don't believe we've seen the best of Drew McIntyre. I really believe that. And so that said, this really was a perfect setup. So if this isn't the perfect setup, like you said, and we've said, where the hell and what the hell is this payoff? Who could be the one to do it? And there's just nobody else on the roster that really excites me. We just, at this point, I don't even know if we care. I really don't know if I care anymore. I'm caring less and less. I just want it off of him so we can move on and stop just completely hijacking the championship and having such a closed mind about who could challenge for it. And, well, he's not here this pay-per-view. There's a lot of damage being done, and it's not just the storyline. It's real, actual damage to men's careers here. Of like, hey, yeah, we can't compete for the world championship because he ain't here every other pay-per-view. He's here one every 3 SmackDowns. He's on one every 8 Raws. Like, there's real damage being done by Roman not being involved on a regular basis. It's just time to move on. It's not just about the 1,000 days or whatever. I think they need to really weigh the negatives here, and I think there's a lot of them.
And it doesn't, and like we brought up in the past, like, yeah, you're gonna get him to 1,000 days, but the fact that he, for lack of a better word, like bleeps off every couple of like pay-per-views, it's like a manufactured 1,000 days. It's like when he defeated Riddle on SmackDown back in June, and then right after they booked him versus Brock Lesnar for SummerSlam at the end of July and completely jumped over Money in the Bank. So you just added, by default, a month and a half onto his run. Now we know he's taking another leave of absence. I would bet money that he's not going to be at Extreme Rules. So now you're just going to add another 2.5 months to Survivor Series. Like, it doesn't feel that legit, as opposed to, let's say, CM Punk's run from, let's say, the summer of 2011 to early 2013, or even JBL's 9-month run as WWE champion on SmackDown. Like, you can't just let the guy walk away for weeks and months at times on end, and they'd be like, oh, look how long that he's held it for. Especially given the fact that for older fans like you and me, we remember when you had to compete within 30 days. You always had to defend it. Like, it just feels ridiculous now. And like you said, what's the payoff? Like, if it's Cody Rhodes, like, I'm sure some people like it. I won't. Like, I mean, for me, it felt like Drew McIntyre was the perfect one, especially given the fact that he missed the live crowd reaction when he won the championship at WrestleMania 36. It felt like the stars aligned. And then imagine right now you had him go to Raw as the WWE champion, and you automatically and right away jump into a program between him and Karrion Kross. That would have been perfect for me. And like I said, you want to continue with Roman as Universal Champion. I still think even that is wearing down its welcome, but at least you can stomach that. But again, I don't know what they're doing. And like you said, it could literally be like any kind of scenario, like him being like rolled up outside by R-Truth and they somehow institute 24/7 rules. I don't care anymore. And that's not what you want. You want the big payoff when a long title reign ends, and not now. It's not even about the payoff. I don't care. I just want the belt off of him, and that's not the way you should feel.
They think that they know. Triple H knows that this is the number one complaint of fans. And he does. And there's no doubt about it that he knows that fans are just getting fed up with this. But I think that they've convinced themselves that this anger that fans have is a money-drawing anger. And it's not. I think this anger that fans have it's directed at the company. It's frustration with the company. It's frustration with creative, most specifically, of just not giving other guys an opportunity. It's not even really about, man, that jerk Roman Reigns. I can't wait until somebody comes along and just levels them and we get the 1, 2, 3. Like, that'll be nice. But we've actually moved past that. It's past the point of return where fans actually care about Roman Reigns losing as much as they do about putting somebody else as champion. There's a difference in heat here, and I think the company would convince themselves that the fans, they're going to tune in to see if somebody can beat Roman. It's like, well, fans, I think, have almost got to channel changing with this whole story. It's exhaustion. It's not anger that's productive that you can turn into cash. I think they would tell you that, no, well, it's the same, and it's not. And I think that's the difference. But if Roman Reigns is going to be out, like you've said, every other month he's at a pay-per-view and all that, yeah, it's manufactured. It's forced. It's this forced 1,000 days that if you condensed his time on the roster would actually be probably like a 8 to 10 or 12-month run for anybody else that would be champion with the amount of time he's been on the roster. It's been expanded artificially by how much time he's taken off. And again, I'm not crapping on Roman Reigns for that. Good for him for collecting millions while doing a fraction of the work. He's earned that at this point in his career, and that's great for his family and all that. But from a viewership standpoint, it's gotten to the point of exhaustion. It's almost indifference. And, I know that the reactions on the pay-per-views may seem different, but it's just get the belt off Roman. Get it onto somebody that we can actually see on a semi-regular or regular basis. That's where I think fans are at, where it's just, oh my God, Roman Reigns is still champion. Rather than a year ago, fans were like, oh my, this is a great story. Roman's doing a great job as a heel. It's beyond that now, and it's the point of no return.
Yeah, and it's sad because everyone was behind Roman, even up until like 6 months ago. And I really just started souring on this when they announced the unification match, because I knew where it was going. We all knew Brock wasn't going to win. We all knew he wasn't going to win at SummerSlam. And it's just artificially tacking it on. Like, we knew Roman wasn't going to drop the belt to Riddle on SmackDown. Like, there's just been no actual, like, match aside from maybe one here and there where you thought there was a legitimate shot that he would drop it. And I'm just tired of feeling that way. Like, you don't always have to be unpredictable in wrestling. Like, sometimes predictability can work. But I do think that after two and a half years, there should be some kind of form of unpredictability, especially with the main event scene.
There needs to be. Then, like I said, now that they're starting to recycle, that tells you all you need to know about where WWE is at in terms of opponents lined up for Roman. There are none in terms of, just for new ones anyway, where they have this person that's young and fresh and they can use this star or this person to in this victory to skyrocket his career. There's no person like that out there. It's going to be whoever this is established. It's an established star that may do little or nothing for their career overall. I hope that's not the case, but I just see no other scenario. When you look at the candidates that we've talked about, Seth Rollins, Randy Orton, Drew McIntyre are all viable. Cody Rhodes is also a viable candidate that you could argue. So we have 4. Am I missing anybody that at least we talked about that is, we think, in the realm of possibility? I have 4 people, and those 4 are already established. Who could benefit from most from a Roman Reigns victory off that? Maybe Cody Rhodes, but again, that's if his babyface career survives. I think the fans will eventually smarten up to just him being unintentionally arrogant about everything. But if I was going to book this, I would have Seth win at Survivor Series, take the belts off Roman, don't even give him the Universal anymore, and have Seth then brag all the way to WrestleMania and do your Cody Seth Part 4 at WrestleMania that they'll blow the roof off the place, and then Roman can go on to face The Rock with no championship. That's what I would do. Keep it simple. Well, but yeah, for a final question to you, what would you do? If you had control right now from now to WrestleMania 39, what would you do?
It's hard because I really thought it was going to be Drew. I think at this point, the first thing I would do is get the WWE Championship on Seth Rollins, because at least for the time being, that ship is sailed with Drew McIntyre. So let's say Survivor Series, find a way to split the titles. That would be my first, I guess, marching orders to the creative team, is find a way to split the world titles, get the WWE Championship back on Monday Night Raw, and then sometime between Survivor Series and WrestleMania, probably at the Royal Rumble, to be honest, I would have the Universal Championship drop to Kevin Owens, because let's say around Survivor Series, Kevin Owens is on SmackDown. He wins the tag team titles with Sami Zayn. They're feuding with the Usos, and then that naturally turns into Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns. And then you have Seth as WWE Champion going into WrestleMania. Kevin Owens going to WrestleMania as Universal Champion. It frees up a championship-less Roman to go against The Rock. Cody could go against Seth Rollins, even though I disagree with it. Fine, they have good chemistry. And then you could put whoever against Kevin Owens for the championship. And that right there gives you 3 really strong matches for WrestleMania.
Yeah, look, I think that both of these selections are good. And let me make this clear. Just because I put Cody Rhodes in the main event with Seth doesn't mean that I want Cody to win. I would actually have Cody lose, because Seth, and we keep saying this, needs a massive victory. And especially at WrestleMania, Seth, I would have defend and then retain the championship against Cody Rhodes, because you can't have him lose 4 times in a row. I mean, it's just, you can't. So that's what I would do, because it's a guaranteed awesome main event from a wrestling perspective. You could create a good story too, but then I'd have Cody lose and have him continue chase and chase and chase. And eventually he'd probably get the victory, and we're all supposed to cheer that, oh my God, he did what his dad couldn't do, and which I won't be, but you could do that if that's the road you want to go. So, man, we get ourselves fired up every week, but this has to come to an end at some point. If it doesn't happen at Survivor Series, my fear is that it is going to be The Rock who comes in with a championship match against Roman Reigns, which you and I both don't want. And I just don't see, if that happens, The Rock winning in any scenario at all, unless he's going to commit to like a short-term run as champion just to take it off of him. And I don't like it. I don't like it for a lot of reasons, even as awesome as The Rock is and all that. But yeah, so any final comments before we wrap it up?
No, man, I think we covered it all today.
Well, thank you, everybody, for listening. And you guys can listen to Anthony DeMarco every single Friday with a retro show. He'll be back this week with a fresh one, we promise. And then, we'll be talking next week, and hopefully a week closer to Roman Reigns ending his career, or his streak. Not his career. I don't want his career to end, the streak of the 2 years. So, well, thanks, buddy. We will talk next week.
Yeah, man. Looking forward to it.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.